Thank you all for coming. We have a few new details to share with you. We'll talk about our response, and we have time for a few questions. First, I'm going to hand it over to Purdue University Police Chief John Cox.
Thanks, Liz. Good evening. Thanks for joining us on this sad and tragic day for the Purdue community and the local West Lafayette and for all Boilermakers everywhere. We want to give you a little bit of a briefing on what has developed in the last few hours since we last met. So we are going to be able to release the name of the suspect and also of the victim. The victim's family has been notified, and so the coroner's office has allowed us to do that. First off, I'd like to give you the name of our suspect. His name is Cody M. Cousins, Cousins. He is 23 years of age. He resides in the 300 block of West Stadium Avenue. Cody is a student in the College of Engineering and has been booked into the Tippecanoe County Jail on a preliminary charge of murder. Our victim is Andrew F. Bolt, B-O-L-D-T. Andrew resides on campus in one of our residence halls and is from the West Bend, Wisconsin area. Andrew is a senior in college here, and his age is 21. The Tippecanoe County Coroner's Office, the Tippecanoe County Prosecutor's Office will be the driving agencies in determining any additional charges or making any comment on any more of the autopsy or injuries or anything like that. We won't be answering any questions about that. I would like to thank all of my public safety partners. Obviously, the team in the room here, our senior administration has been extremely supportive. Our news service folks and all of the people that came in. Indiana State Police are helping with our crime scene. We have 5 evidence technicians working that right now. I would like to emphasize that the electrical engineering building is still closed at this time. The rest of the campus has gone back to normal operations. Specifically, I would like to thank our EMS partners in the West Lafayette Fire and the Purdue University Fire Department. They were on scene immediately, as well as our Tippecanoe County Emergency Ambulance Service. They also came as well. I would like to just make a couple of brief comments on the investigation that I can. First of all, this is a homicide that we're working. This is, again, I said this earlier, this is not your typical active shooter. This appears to be an isolated and an intentional act. We have developed information through several witnesses that the victim appeared to have been targeted by the suspect, and it was no more or no less than that. This was not an active shooter incident where we just had someone randomly coming onto the campus and injuring our students, faculty, and staff and visitors. We did have the call come in again around noon. We sent out our emergency response text right away. The sirens went off. And I would like to take a moment to thank all of the students, all of the staff, all of the faculty, and everybody that responded appropriately. We've had a tremendous amount of support, and everybody did exactly what they should have done. What we have trained to do, what we trained to do on campus, what we have trained to do with our emergency partners across the area. And unfortunately, you train and plan for one of these incidences, and you hope it never happens. But unfortunately, it did today here, and everything that we did went exactly as it should have gone. As a matter of fact, our text alerts and everything were rolling out. Our response from our West Lafayette City partners, as I mentioned earlier, Officer Kevin Coomey with the West Lafayette City Police Department took the suspect into custody on the east side of the electrical engineering building along Northwestern Avenue before even the last text messages had reached. So it was that efficient and that quick. Tim?
Thank you, Chief Cox. Just like to make a few comments to add on to what I said earlier today. Of course, like to express our compassion for all those in the Purdue community at this time of tragedy, especially to family and friends of those involved directly. I've been in contact with the President Daniels, and as I mentioned earlier, he's in Columbia. He was on a week-long trip to engage with the universities in that country and with the government there. And he's, of course, stunned and saddened, as we all are, by this crime. Homicides are extremely rare at events at Purdue. It's shocking. We're all gathering ourselves. But he's decided to cut his trip short. He'll be back by sometime tomorrow. He's in the process of making plans and leaving as soon as possible. So you'll see him here sometime tomorrow, if all goes well in his trip back. The president has asked me to cancel classes. So we canceled classes this afternoon. As Chief Cox mentioned, we had normal operations rather quickly, but that just means that people are allowed to engage and walk around campus. The facilities are running. But we did decide to cancel classes, and we'll continue to have classes suspended for all day tomorrow as well, out of respect for those in our community. Our students have planned a candlelight vigil at 8 p.m. out in front of Hovde Hall, and that will provide an opportunity not only for our students to get together and show support, but for our Dean of Students office to convey information about how they can seek out resources. In fact, that has already occurred to a large extent, but this is another opportunity. I think you'll see quite a few students there expressing their support. I'd personally like to thank all of the emergency response folks, the Purdue and West Lafayette Police Department, the West Lafayette Fire Department, the Dean of Students office, which has obviously engaged quickly and is still engaged, and our student and faculty leadership. They've really stepped up. And of course, it's not over, it's just beginning. But I think this vigil tonight will be the beginning of a healing process, but it'll take a while. Thank you very much.
And we have time for a few questions for Provost Tim Sands and Purdue Police Chief John Cox.
Chief, can you tell us anything about a possible motive, possible weapon? Can you provide some additional details of what happened?
Sure. As I stated earlier, it's all preliminary investigation. It's being driven by the prosecutor's office. We really won't be commenting on those parts because as we speak, the detectives are still talking to multiple people that were either in the building or witnessed or part of that. So there were shots fired in the facility. And as I mentioned, the Indiana State Police have brought in some of their technology from the state police post to help us document the scene, and we'll be collecting information. We'll put something together, and at some point, I would think that when the prosecutor's office goes through and files those formal charges, that some of that information will be available.
How many shots were fired?
We got complaints over the, as many of you may heard, if you were around at the scanner, we were getting complaints of 4 to 5 shots being fired.
Do you know their relationship, how they might be connected, and were they both students?
Both our students here at the university, we're developing those relationships at this time.
Can you confirm that the victim was a teaching assistant?
The teaching, yes, he was a teaching assistant.
Was he teaching this class?
That I don't know. I don't have that information.
Can you confirm the age of the teaching assistant?
I'm sorry, say it again.
Can you confirm the age of the teaching assistant?
Yeah, 21. Andrew was 21 years of age.
How about the suspect? If he was a teaching assistant?
No, student here, 23 years of age.
And was the student, the victim, a student in that class today?
You know, sir, I don't know that for sure. I'd have to go back. I didn't look at his educational records. I just knew that he's listed as a teaching assistant in there, age 21, in that college.
Is he cooperating now? You mentioned earlier that he wasn't really cooperating. Is he cooperating?
Yes, we've had some additional cooperation from him.
Where's he from?
Pardon me, sir?
Where's he from?
The suspect or the victim?
The suspect.
The suspect, we have two locations. One would be Centerville, Ohio. The other was Warsaw, Indiana. So those are both listed in the.
And what about the victim? Is there a difference?
Yeah, the victim is from West Bend, Wisconsin.
Chief, how are you? How are your people? These are students you look over every day. You're here to protect them.
Yeah, you know, the staff has done a great job. And again, it's one of those sad situations that none of us hope ever happen. As I was speaking to my colleagues here, you know, I have about 8.5 years left in this profession, and I was hoping to make it down that road without this. But you know what? We trained for this, and we take this very seriously. You know, West Lafayette, Tippecanoe County, specifically Purdue University, one of the safest communities in the Big Ten. I think you can look at stats. I mean, we're we're in a, we have the opportunity to live in a very safe community, and I think that transition over to campus safety that we enjoy. Our senior administration and Tim and the president and Gina and Al Diaz, our executive vice president treasurer, and Carol Shelby, our senior director of environmental health and public safety, all work extremely well together to coordinate the public safety efforts that go along here. And we can't do it without our partners, obviously. We are a medium-sized city. And I would remind folks again, this is appears to be a random act of violence. The suspect went in and sought out the victim, and then killed the victim, and then left, and then surrendered to police outside. So this is not your typical. This is a homicide investigation, and we're going to pursue it as such, and we'll get the answers for our prosecutor. Our coroner will assist us with that.
Chief, how close is the shooter to the victim?
They were in the same room together.
Point blank range?
I haven't been down there, so I don't know for sure, but I know that they were in the same room next to each other.
Is there any information on the raid at the suspect's home, anything that was found in that?
I would defer that to the city chief and let him talk about that. Obviously, that would be his jurisdiction, so.
Thank you. The West Lafayette Police Department did execute a search warrant on the suspect's home in the 300 block of West Stadium Avenue, and that was in cooperation with, of course, the prosecutor's office and the Purdue University Police. That's an active investigation, and I don't have any further to add other than to confirm that we did execute a search warrant on the suspect's residence.
Chief, can you tell us why the bomb squad was called out there?
That's a procedural thing. We don't have any information that would have led us to believe specifically that there was ordnance there.
Did you seize any ordnance or weapons?
Again, an ongoing investigation. I don't have all the items listed. That warrant was pretty fresh.
Do you have any previous contact with either of these, generally?
The West Lafayette Police Department has had previous contact with the suspect.
Of what nature?
Again, I don't have all that information in front of me, but we have had prior contact with him. I believe there was an arrest at one point while he was here as a student at Purdue.
Is that a violent offense?
I believe it's an alcohol offense.
Was that this year or previous year?
I don't have that information. Thank you.
I have a question for Provost Sands about the response. The directive to stay in place, what was that directive?
Shelter in place.
There seemed to be some confusion from people who didn't know what that meant, and there seemed to be, just people kind of wandering campus, not really realizing what that meant. Are students and faculty directed at the beginning of the year to know what that meant? Did you receive any, I guess?
They should be at the beginning of every semester in class. But this is an ongoing educational issue, and we'll get better and better at it. But my observation from Hovde Hall and from walking around campus was that most of the students knew what was going on. Matter of fact, the reason we shelter in place was so important is we had classes in session. So we wanted students and the faculty to stay put.
What about the decision to cancel classes? Was that Daniels who specifically kind of changed course on that? Were you guys?
There was really no change of course on that. The initial text that went out after the incident was resolved essentially said that the campus was back in normal operation. But while that was being conveyed, we were in the process of discussing what to do about classes. And so within, I don't know what the time elapsed was, but shortly thereafter we made a decision with President Daniels, he was on the phone, to go ahead and cancel classes not only for the rest of the afternoon, but for tomorrow as well.
How about preventing this? Again, are there any policies that might be re-examined in the near future?
Well, I should probably turn that over to our experts, but I'm incredibly impressed with the way that our current procedures worked. We practice them. As Chief Cox says, you hope it doesn't happen, but you have to assume that it might. And so I don't think there was a moment where everyone didn't know that what they needed to do. So that was my impression watching everything unfold. And I don't know. I'm sure that there will be a lessons learned discussion some weeks in the future, and we will convey what we learned not only to our community at Purdue, but beyond that to the entire academic community. We all learn from these things, unfortunately. We need to learn from them. But I have to say I was extremely impressed with how everybody behaved. We had everybody in place and communicating clearly. It's never simple. It never happens the way a script would have it happen. But I felt that we were very well prepared. Now I'll turn it over to John to maybe add anything there.
Sure, thanks. Again, I'll reiterate, it's something that we practice a lot. We engage our students, we engage our staff, we engage our faculty. We have several layers to our Purdue alert system. It's something that we are not only do we practice, but we also revisit. We hold monthly meetings with key partners in a public safety piece and also within physical facilities and other areas, and look at scenarios that happen around the country and talk about how would we respond to that? How would we make that call? Do you send out alert? Do you not? What we do, and those things continue to hone our skills. Again, I can't say enough. My partner, Chief Kevin Ply at the Purdue University Fire Department, Ronnie Wright, our Emergency Preparedness Planning and Director, Chief Dombkowski, and his colleague, Fire Chief for West Lafayette City. We have those conversations often. And unfortunately, sometimes we get pushed together like this in a circumstance where we'll go back, we'll hot wash this. Our EPP director, Ron Wright, will probably do some follow-up on it, and we will, as the provost mentioned, go back and do a lessons learned from this, share that with our senior administration, and share that with the community so that we can make the process better. But I will say that I'm very proud of the men and women that served in the capacity they did. They did a great job. And I also appreciate your cooperation while we work through this and your patience.
Do you expect electrical engineering to be closed all day tomorrow, or you don't know yet?
No, what we've discussed is as soon as our crime scene and our evidence technician folks are in there, we will send out a multi-layer communication to the community to let them know that that facility is back open. It won't be open for a little while. It may be late tonight or very early in the morning.
Some of the shooting was reported about 12:03, and we saw a tweet at 12:19 from the university. Was that the first alerts to students, or was there any?
No, there's one of the things that you'll be able to get, again, Ron Wright, our Emergency Preparedness Planning and Director, part of the hot wash is we use the RAVE alert system. A very, very good system. Is one that we have come to depend on. It's also one that works very well. Out of that system, we will draw data that shows us how many went out, when they were received, what carriers, the whole area. So we'll be able to give you more of a finite timeline at some point. But I know that there were many parts of the layer. Some of you around, you may have heard the sirens going off. There's a number of layers to our system that we use. So that would the 19th at 19 after. I don't know what part that was, but that was just part of the whole process.
Where does the texting, a lot of students mentioned they got the text and that helped out.
Mm-hmm.
Where does that play in, and do you know how quick that text can get out compared to that 12:03
Sure.
call?
It goes fairly quickly. Obviously, we have tested different systems to try to find the most accurate and the most dependable system. You're talking about using private carriers to carry text messages in volumes, and so I think you might be surprised how quickly it went out when you actually see the numbers. We have been impressed with it, and that's why we continue to use the system.
Chief, has there been an ongoing problem of any kind between the suspect and the shooter? Was he worried about this guy for any reason?
We don't have that information right now. That's part of that, the history that we're going to develop to try to determine. As Chief Dombkowski mentioned, our prosecutor's office has assisted us with some search warrants to be able to help us dig into some of that background. And at some point in time, I'm sure some of that will come out in the process through the prosecutor's office filing charges.
At this point, though, you're not hearing that from your witnesses?
No, we're not. I'm not hearing anything from the witnesses at this point. I really haven't had much of a chance to debrief with my investigations team, but I'm not hearing anything to that would lead me to believe that.
I think we're going to probably wrap up, but I do want to mention that we have counseling services available on campus to anyone who needs that. We've got information posted on our website, so anyone who needs counseling, it is available to them. Thank you all. We appreciate it.